Hey everyone, it's Mike Hambright with FlipNerd.com. Welcome back for another exciting expert interview show where I interview great guests from across the real estate investing industry to help you learn and hopefully inspire you. Just another reminder of the upcoming REI Power Summit. It is going to be the largest online real estate investing event ever. It's 100% virtual, so you can join from anywhere, and you're going to get access for 12 months after the event. So if you missed anything or want to watch something again, you'll be able to. We have over 50 great speakers so far, actually including my guest today. And lots of vendors that can help you with your business. So check out reipowersummit.com. It's coming up real fast here in just a couple weeks, so don't miss out. For today's show, I'm joined by Bob Romito, who is actually a very good personal friend of mine. And Bob has been a real estate investor for a long time. He's actually been involved in thousands of transactions. He's a mentor and a coach, and he has a very different approach to real estate investing than some. And you've heard the phrase before, real estate guru. That could have negative and positive connotations, but if you associate it with somebody that really has a lot of knowledge in the good term, Bob is not a guru. He actually is a yogi, so he's a yoga instructor as well, and he's found a way to merge his lessons from the yoga side with his real estate investing side. So there's really an emotional side to this business that we all know but rarely talk about, but it's such an important part, and Bob's going to share some of that with us today. Before we get started with Bob, though, let's take a moment to recognize our featured sponsors. RealtyMogul.com is an online marketplace for real estate investing, connecting borrowers and capital from accredited and institutional investors. Get a rehab loan fast and close in as little as 10 days with rates starting as low as 9%. For more information, call 888-296-1697. B2R Finance makes loans tailored specifically for rental investors. They can help you unlock equity from existing properties so you can get cash out to grow your rental portfolio. That's huge and opens up lots of opportunities previously not available to rental investors. Need a loan? Call 855-819-4412 or visit b2rfinance.com today. AceBusinessFunding.com can help you get up to $150,000 in revolving credit lines to fund your business with rates as low as 0% for the first 12 to 18 months. Use the funds for startup costs, marketing, inventory, or almost anything your business needs. If you can't get funding, you don't pay a dime. Get funds for your business today at AceBusinessFunding.com. We'd also like to thank Specialized IRA Services, National Real Estate Insurance Group, and VirtualStaffNow.com. Please note, the views and opinions expressed by the individuals in this program do not necessarily reflect those of FlipNerd.com or any of its partners, advertisers, or affiliates. Please consult professionals before making any investment or tax decisions, as real estate investing can be risky. Hey, Bob, welcome to the show.
Hey, Mike. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you. Good to see you. And it's interesting, we talked about this a little bit beforehand. So I think I never actually quote my episodes because sometimes things change, but I think this is going to be, if you're watching this is episode number 262. Bob was actually on once before. He was on episode number 3, so literally 259 episodes ago. And of course, we've seen each other many times since then. Yeah. But great to see you, Bob.
Yeah, it's great to be here, Mike. I think the last time we spoke, I was actually in Florida, and now I'm in Southern California. Moved up to the big leagues, the high price markets out here, and having a great time.
Yeah, good. What's always interesting, I love getting together and talking with you, Bob, and I know that you inspire a lot of people because I think a lot of real estate investors, we tend to be, we very much focus on deal to deal, living deal to deal, the fundamentals of how do I do this from a marketing standpoint. All those things are really important, but we tend to forget about the kind of softer side of this business, whether it's from the person who's the investor or whether it's how they deal with a seller or other relationships or contractors and things like that. And it's the important stuff that very rarely gets talked about, right?
Yeah, it's very interesting. I think a lot of that comes just from the nature of the business, because there is a lot of knowledge that you have to have, and it's I refer to it as tactical information. There's a lot of tactical information that you need to be effective. The what to do, the how to do it, how to structure things in a deal. There's a lot of moving parts in a real estate transaction. So consequently, I think a lot of the gurus and trainers and information that's out there deals with tactical information because it's important and it's necessary.
Right.
If you don't know what to do or how to do it, you're not going to be able to succeed. But the tactical information in and of itself is not really sufficient to have the kind of success that I like to talk about and the kind of success that I like to coach the people that I work with in. And I feel like you have to deal with information that's more transformational and even transcendent. And I discuss some of that in most of what I do because it's very different. And it's the type of stuff that I think allows you to create success in your business, but also success in your life. The stuff that enables you to go to sleep at night and feel good about what you do and who you are while you're doing it.
Yeah.
I used to lead events all across the country, Mike, the 3-day fundamental trainings. And it's so interesting because I would see 95% of the people walk into the room excited to be a real estate investor. And most of them never take the first step when they left.
Right.
And I really believe it's because they hadn't made the leap in understanding that it can actually be a win-win, and truthfully, it needs to be a win-win. I think a lot of people have it made up that for them to win as a real estate investor, somebody else has to lose.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that at the core of who we are as human beings is something that stops a lot of people because they don't want to feel that way about what they're doing. That's one component. There's another component I'll share a little bit later, but I think that's something that we have to be able to get through and get over and actually understand that, yes, you are in a situation always where you can create a win-win.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's this connotation for those that are listening that are new or are trying to get started, and the veteran folks will understand this if you buy direct from a seller. So, there are sometimes, and this plays kind of negative head games with you, the people that you go, you make an offer, we obviously make offers at deeply discounted prices, that especially if you didn't frame it, right, that the person is like, you're trying to steal my house, or you just kind of hear this negative stuff. But the people that you actually buy houses from, this, sometimes you're getting hugs, you're getting like nice letters, like you really made an impact. And those are the ones that obviously you needed to make an impact with. So you won because you got the house, and they won because you've seen it a million times. You just see this weight just drop off their shoulders. Like I'm done. I don't have to worry about this anymore.
Yeah. I always said that, you've really done a good job with somebody when you can go to a closing and at the end of that closing, have them thank you. Yeah. Sincerely thank you for buying their home from them at a discount. Yeah. That allows you to make a profit, but it solves their problem. And, that's, it's interesting. There's that core group of people, Mike, that we work with, that percentage that we are able to buy. And when I coach, I share with people, those aren't the ones where we really earn the money. So this is a little different concept. It's where you get paid, but it's not really where the money's earned. I'm a firm believer in, and we have our numbers in the business I work in, and I've dealt with direct with sellers. That's the only place I've bought houses. I haven't bought bulk portfolios. I haven't, gone to auction and bought on the courthouse steps. That's not what I do. I buy direct from sellers. So all the homes that I purchase and the people that I coach have typically bought in living rooms and kitchens across America. Mm-hmm. And although we get paid on the ones we buy, I believe we earn it on the ones that we can't buy. And what I mean by that is if you can actually spend time with another human being who's called you, and let's face it, people who call us off of an ad, a billboard, television, whatever marketing we're doing, a letter that says, we buy your house, we'll buy your ugly house, ugly situation, divorce, foreclosure, whatever it is, they're calling us because they have some distress in their life.
Right.
They're in some pain. And they know that we know, right? So there's typically a lot of barriers in the way when we show up. There's this apprehension, are they going to take advantage of me? All of that. And sometimes anger that we're experiencing from them, and it's not really about us. It's just their situation. So when people call us in pain, I believe that we have an obligation to somehow leave them in a better place, to somehow help them remove that pain, whether or not we can buy their home or not. And that's a golden opportunity for us. When we can actually make a difference in somebody's life, and it might not necessarily be us generating profit from that conversation or deal. We've really made an investment in what I call the karmic bank account, right?
Yeah.
We've actually planted a seed that is going to pay off somewhere in our life or in our business. And to me, that's a real gift, because we deal with big problems. I mean, let's face it. I like to use the metaphor of, if you walk into you have a headache, and you walk into the pharmacy at CVS or Walgreens or whatever drugstore you go to. You can go to the shelf and grab a bottle of Tylenol or Aleve or aspirin and go to the checkout counter, and the guy will take that and scan it, and you'll pay your $15 or whatever it is now for a bottle of Tylenol. And that guy who's helped alleviate that problem, you'll go take 2 pills and it'll go away. He's getting paid in relation to the value he's provided, right? He's getting paid his $10, $12, $15 an hour, depending on how long he's been there. Sometimes there's nobody even there. You go scan it yourself and buy it and walk away, right?
Yeah.
But if you didn't have a headache, but you had a brain tumor, now you're going to a specialist because you have a big problem. And that guy is making big money, okay? We're the surgeons. We're dealing with people's big problems. And that's why we have the opportunity that we have to make the kind of money that we can make. But everybody that we talk to has a big problem in most cases.
Yeah.
And we have an obligation, I think, to somehow find a way to serve them, to somehow find a way to leave them in a better place, even if we're not the solution for them. And like I said, there's cause and effect in the universe. This is the yogi stuff coming out, and when you plant those seeds, those effects will come back to you ultimately. I say that that's what allows you to get the call or the seller that wants to do business. Those 95 out of 100 that you can't buy, that's where you earn the 5 or 6 that you can.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, in my experience, when you treat people right, even if you can't buy their house, you can't always see a direct correlation. I know you're very karma centric, so I want to try to get deep here with you, Bob.
Yeah, good.
I won't be able to compete, but I will say there's no doubt about it that first off, in this business, when maybe 5% of your leads you're converting into something that you can monetize, the other 90, it makes your day a lot better, your weeks, your years a lot better if you're finding a way to make something good out of that other 95%.
Absolutely.
Because if you just, it's depressing if you don't. I mean, if you just, if 95% of the time you just hear no, and you just move on and you just, it can bring you down. But if you kind of left there feeling like, hey, 95% were a no, but 50% of those, I added some value out there. I made somebody feel good, or made me feel good, or whatever. And that stuff comes back around. We've gotten, I'm sure you've seen it too. You get leads from people that like, I wasn't able to sell you my house, but I have this other friend or family member or whatever that, might be a better fit. Can you talk to them? Stuff happens.
Absolutely. And I think that, a lot of our business is driven by our advertising, the things that we do proactively to make the phone ring in our office. And if you look at how much it costs you, if your perspective is, oh my God, it cost me $400 to make the phone ring, and 95 of those I can't buy, or I get the call that says, hey, I saw your ad. I'm not interested in selling a house, but do you rent properties? And I'm thinking, oh my God, if I'm sitting there thinking that cost me $500 to take that call, or the guy that says, take me off your list, or if my perspective is, I just blew money with that call, instead of, here's an opportunity for me to serve somebody. Like if you look at your day as how many chances do I get to solve a problem, then it doesn't matter what the result is financially on the other end. It's, did I help solve a problem or not? And that's trusting something that you can't see. That's having faith in a system that is one that you can't see, feel, or touch, right? It's universal law. It's like, if I do the right thing and I live the right way, I know I'm going to be taken care of. And that's a really powerful way to live, because as you do it, as you start to plant the seeds, the results have to come. They will manifest. And you might say, and I've been through this, Mike, you might say, well, God, I've done the right thing for a long time and I haven't seen a result. You know how I look at that? I'm just burning off karma from when I was 22 years old, or from a past life, or whatever. I had a good friend of me say, I said, man, I must be burning off a lot of past life karma. He looked at me and said, do you remember when you were young, how many things you might not have done right? He said, you might still be working on this life's karma. Yeah. And I said, yeah, that's true, right? But, so everything, all there is to do is every day wake up and do the right thing. I always like to say, that great philosopher Spike Lee, right? Do the right thing. But that's so true, and that's what allows you to feel good about who you are every day and what you do every day. And a lot of times, I'll step into a little different space right now, but it's related, because it takes me back to the training days when I worked in events and did a 3-day event, and I would see people walk into the room, and they had a certain capacity to receive financial abundance in their life. And it was capped at whatever it was, because they walked in and maybe they were earning $30,000 a year or $50,000 a year or $70,000 a year, whatever it was. And I knew that's what their capacity was, right? How did I know? Because that's what they were getting, right? The universe will give you what you work to earn. So if that's where they were, that's where they were. But all of a sudden, they're taking a 3-day course, and they're there because they saw an infomercial or whatever, a conversation for 2 hours that said you can make $1 million in this business, which you can. And they think by doing the 3-day course and getting the tactical information, the what to and the how to, that all of a sudden everything's going to change. Their capacity is going to change. Well, your capacity doesn't change with tactical information. It just doesn't. It's just more information. Your capacity changes by working on you and developing you and altering who you are as a person, as a human being. And it's, it's the old law. The more you give, the more you're able to share, the more you can receive. And so for me, but then you'd wonder and say, okay, well, 5% of the people that came to those events were successful. They did make $1 million in the business, but most of them had the capacity. Most of them walked in really with the capacity, the desire, and they worked on themselves. So
talk about capacity a little bit, Bob. How do you expand your capacity? Give us some guidance here.
That's a great question. So
I in the back of my mind, there's these political things turning into like, there's a whole party out there now that's brewing that thinks that the universe isn't going to give you what you want. Your government is.
Unfortunately.
Started me thinking. I won't say any names here.
That's really the most important thing, Mike. And you hit it. Is number one, being responsible, right?
Yeah.
Taking responsibility and saying, okay, I have to shift this. Like, things aren't just going to, like a 2-day seminar or this new software or whatever isn't going to change everything for me. I have to change. So how do you change? You have to look for the things that are going to take you outside of what's comfortable.
Yeah.
So I always say, do the thing that's hard to do, whatever that is. Find a practice. Like, I was in the training and development industry for years, and I started as a student. After I lost my first fortune when I was 26 years old, I bought Tony Robbins' personal power tapes. And that was the first thing that I experienced that actually created a shift in me, because it got me back into action. It didn't create a lot of change in who I was, but it got me back in action, which was necessary at that time, because I was laying on the couch staring at the ceiling wondering what happened, right? So I got back into action, and I figured, well, what I linked up was, I guess I just didn't make enough the first time around because I lost it all. I need to make more. So I did that. But that really wasn't the answer either, because I lost it all again. It wasn't until I figured out I had to change who I was. I had to change my nature from somebody who was worried about me and my ego into somebody who was able to set that aside and care more, as much or more about the people I was dealing with as I did myself, right? It's the old biblical scripture, love thy neighbor as thyself, right? Can you really do that? Can you do that in business? Can you care enough about your client? Can you care as much about your client as you do about the commission check or about the bottom line profit? So there are practices, whether it's a seminar event that you can do, whether it's a transformational program that you can go do, whether it's I started doing Kundalini yoga when I moved to LA, typical LA thing to do, right? But it was the most amazing thing because, and my wife said, she started before me naturally because my wife is the precursor to everything great in my life. She said, honey, you got to come to do this. And I did, and I was blown away because that practice is all about dealing with your negative subconscious thought forms that get in the way of you producing the results that you want in your life. Like actual physical practices, breathing, mantras, meditations that remove that stuff. And I saw results so fast in areas of my life that I was stuck in that I dove in and I became a teacher. So I got certified as an instructor to help other people do that. So I deal with some of that now with my students. That's why I started getting called Yogi Bob. So a lot of the people that I coach now, that's how they refer to me. Actually, I was going to wear the turban today, Mike, but I didn't want to flip you out. Great turn, right?
Hey, it doesn't flip me out.
Maybe next interview, I'll wear the turban. But there's a whole technology around that too. But whatever practice that you can plug in, and it's not easy. That's the thing that you have to realize. If you're expanding your vessel, it's uncomfortable. You stretch. It's like being in the gym, right? If you go and work out in the gym, you're going to be sore. You're going to be uncomfortable the next day. It's the same thing with growing your capacity. It's going to be uncomfortable. It might confront you because your ego wants to stay safe. It wants to stay comfortable. And ego will show up in two different ways. It'll either show up like you're loud and boisterous and have this arrogance about you. And that's how most people relate to ego. They think that's ego. Well, that's one manifestation of it. But it also shows up in you saying, I could never do that. I couldn't make that happen. And it has you play small because it will try and protect you, right? It has you play that game. So it can show up on both ends of the spectrum in your life. So you want to look for that. Identify, where is my ego at? Where am I being safe? Where am I not stretching? I saw a great photo on one social, I don't know if it was whatever, Facebook or Twitter or something. It was a picture and had a little circle. And it said, your comfort zone. And then there was an arrow and there was this huge circle. And it said, where magic happens, right? So clearly magic happens way outside of your comfort zone. And I talk about miracles a lot in my business. I want to coach people to have a miraculous business and a miraculous life. So you've got to get outside of what's comfortable. If you do the work, the hard work, if you work to get your ego out of the way, and that's the challenge that I'm talking about. Yeah. Caring about somebody when there's nothing in it for you, your ego doesn't like that, right? Your ego doesn't want to hear that. Your ego says, hey, take care of me. I need to be profitable. I need to be successful. I need this. I need that. So it has you want to not. It's very illogical, right?
Right.
What I'm talking about isn't logical, but miracles and logic don't live in the same place. There's nothing logical about a miracle, right?
Yeah. So how about there's a lot of people out there that I think are there's this allure with somebody else that they see that they assume is successful because that's how they represent themselves. As you know, a lot of people are not necessarily how they represent themselves, right? But people just start to say, I want that.
Yeah.
And if they can do that, I can do that. And I want that, whatever that is. And they don't even necessarily know what that is because that might be
an illusion,
it might be have a little lipstick on it. But that I think people have a tendency to identify with, well, I know where I am now and that's what I want. Without kind of understanding their, as you talk about capacity, like maybe they don't need to have that. So some of the people that we coach, right off the bat, they're like, never bought a house in their lives. Well, I want to do what you do. I want to buy 100 houses a year, and I'm thinking, why? I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but do you know what that entails? Because it might not be as great as you think, and you may not need that. I've never really used the word capacity, but I'm like, there's a lot you could make. I guess what I'm getting at is you might have a lot more burden. You probably will have a lot more burden because of that. You got more overhead. You got more risk. You may not enjoy your life as much as you would otherwise. And I'm not faulting anybody for. I have a bunch of friends that do, tons of houses like that, far more than that sometimes. But I don't think that people necessarily know like what's behind the curtain of that scenario, right?
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Mike. And it gets back to that holistic picture. Like, what is fulfillment for you?
Yeah.
What is, and you got to be careful though, because fulfillment and comfort are two different animals. Because I don't think we were born and put here to be necessarily comfortable, but fulfilled, yeah. Like, so what is that? Identify that, and then what's it going to take to get there? And the truth is, it's all made up. I mean, people think they need something, right? They look at something and say, God, I need that. I got to have that. And that's so not accurate. One of my teachers, I love the statement he made because it was very freeing. He said, desire everything, need nothing. And I thought about that, and he took it a step further. He said, look, want it all, but want it all so you can give it all. And the more I thought about that, the more sense it made, because that really puts you in the flow. So you want to have this capacity and desire for as much as you can take in, but not to hold on to give it, to share it. And what's interesting is most people think they have to have it first in order to give it, right? To plug into that flow. I got to have something to give. Well, you have something already, right? It's like taking those 95 calls, right? I can give those people something. I don't have to have anything. A lot of times, and you experience this, I'm sure, Mike, sometimes you're sitting down with a seller and the only thing that you can do is genuinely listen to them with an open heart and hear their story. And sometimes that's like the greatest gift you could give them, that they actually feel like they've been heard.
Yeah.
And then you start to like plug into that flow. You're giving, and then you start to receive. And then you can start to look at, what do I really want in life? Do I need the chaos of a 100-house-a-year business and what goes with that? Maybe. Maybe I don't. It really boils down to what fulfills you. Where do you want to give and contribute? Is that 100 houses a year about your ego? Or is it about something else? Is it going to give you access to contribute something in another way? Which is good. If it's about ego because you want to stand up at an event or a convention and be acknowledged because you were the top dog, I don't know how productive that is.
Yeah. And there's a lot of that in this industry too. People tend to focus a lot more on unit volume, which is, it's like, yeah. Man, are you making $1,000 per unit, or are you making $30,000, $40,000 a unit? I mean, there's a big difference, and nobody ever says, whenever somebody says how many units, they're like, well, but how much profit is that?
Yeah,
because it could differ a lot. Exactly. But I know a big. I'm not going to say any names because I know this guy. I won't say anything else because he'll identify himself probably. But somebody that that I know that's actually doing pretty well. That I said just recently, I was like, how's everything going? Well, I'm going to buy 150 houses this year. Going pretty good, wouldn't you say, or something like that? It's like, yeah. Okay, I don't know, maybe. Right. That sounds impressive, but I mean, what is that? What's behind the curtain?
Really. The better question is, what's that allowing you to contribute?
Right.
Because if it's okay, this is Roman. Let's talk about spontaneous and live. He just decided to jump up here, but. For me, it's the holistic picture, because you can buy 150 houses a year and be the most unhappy, unfulfilled person on the planet. We all know people like that. Yeah. They look like they have all the financial wealth and trappings, but they're not happy. And for me, it's about being able to have it all. I believe we were born to have it all. We were born to have abundance, health, prosperity, joy, fulfillment. So when we talk about expanding our capacity, I'm talking about all of that. Like, go plug into things that give you access to having all of that in your life. I talk about it a lot. If anybody wants to track me down, I'm happy to share, and that's what I try and do, to point people in a direction with something that will resonate with them. Because it's not, look, a lot of people aren't going to want to do yoga or go to this seminar or that seminar, but there's plenty of things out there that will resonate. Sometimes it's just a book. A great book can change somebody's life.
Absolutely.
Because it speaks to them in a certain way. You know, it's always said that when that nickel drops, it drops. You never know where it's going to come from. It might be somebody that says something to you somewhere that you never expected, and it changes everything for you. But we have to be aware and pay attention and conscious to be listening for that.
Yeah. That's and that's the advice I give people. In fact, somebody else asked about this event we have coming up recently, and they was like, well, what are all the things I'm going to learn? And I was like, man, if you just learn one thing, you know how these events are. We go to a lot of them. It's like, I don't go to try to absorb everything. I go to pick up a nugget somewhere that I can adopt to myself. And I think whether you do yoga or any of the other things that you talked about here, it's not about take on all these new things. It's like find the pieces in there that make sense for you and adopt that into your life. Yeah.
It's there was a guy that the first business I was ever in was the life insurance business, Mike. I was 20 years old in college, and I got my insurance license. And there was a gentleman, he's still alive today. He was the man in insurance sales. His name was Joe Gandolfo. And he wrote a book, and the title of the book says it all. It says, ideas are a dime a dozen, but the man who puts them into practice is priceless. And what enables you to put things into practice is altering who you are. And so I always remember that. It was kind of the first bit of personal development wisdom I ever got.
Yeah,
and,
that's good.
So,
well, Bob, we're out of time for today. You want to take a minute and maybe try to summarize something that's actionable here, because we talked about some pretty deep stuff. Like what somebody can do if this resonated with them. What can they do to start moving in the direction of something that will actually help impact their life and allow them to impact others? And then talk a little bit about how folks might learn more about you.
Sure. You know, I have this saying, this mantra, and it's always when I'm looking at what there is to do, I always say, do what's hardest first. Okay? I always look to do the thing that's going to be most uncomfortable, because that's going to cause the greatest growth for me. It's going to stretch me more. Yep. And it's not logical. It's not logical to do. As human beings, we don't want to do those things. So do them. That will push you out of your comfort zone. That'll expand who you are. It's always great to get up in the morning and say, okay, what are the tasks I got to do? Let me do the toughest one first. You know, logically, it makes sense too, somewhat, because you're going to get it out of the way, but it's not what we're thrown to do. It's not what our ego wants to do. So the more you can push the ego aside and do the things that are going to affect you at a soul level, cause you to grow and expand who you are, that's what I would suggest, whatever that is. And I can be tracked down. If people want to find me and find more out about me, they can do it at bobromito.com or realestateyogi.com. Those will lead you to the same place. And I have some free things that I do there, and things that I'll share. If you just want to plug into this kind of a conversation on a fairly consistent basis, that's the other thing I would suggest. Find somebody who will mentor you and coach you on something other than just the tactical stuff. Get coached and mentored on the transformational stuff, on the transcendent information, because that's what's expanding you as a person. Have the tactical, get it. It's the other stuff that is going to allow you to really run with it, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Bob, thanks for taking us deep today, and thanks for sharing this lesson. It's important stuff. I won't. It's always good to hear these things because I think a lot of us, like you said, a lot of us are in this business, the real estate business, not for the business itself. It's because it is allowing you to fulfill something that you need to fulfill, whether it's financial freedom, freedom of time, or making a difference, or a combination of all those things. And so this stuff, gets talked about so rarely, yet it's just important, whether it will help you in your business or just to live a more fulfilling life. So I appreciate you sharing it today.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate the opportunity to be here, and I wish everybody the best.
All right, Bob. We'll see you soon. Are you a member of FlipNerd.com, the most robust real estate investing platform in existence? where you can find off-market wholesale deals and great vendors literally in your market. You can get access to advice from experts and learn about local clubs and events right in your backyard. If not, please visit flipnerd.com and register for a free account. You can register in less than a minute. It's pretty much the coolest site that's ever existed in the real estate investing industry, so get on over to flipnerd.com.